Push, 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 push. Up, 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 up. And go, load. Good, soft touch and come back up. Right, this morning we've got Zelfa Barrett coming into the gym to go through one of his strength and conditioning sessions. Now, Zelfa's about 5 weeks out from his next fight. One of the big things that we're really trying to focus on at the minute for Zelfa in the gym is a real emphasis on maximal strength. So regularly throughout the past 18 months that I've been working with Zelfa, we've done a lot of testing, a lot of screening, and one of the big things that's been a constant throughout that is the demand for Zelfa to try and improve his maximal strength. So with us now still being about 5 weeks away from a fight, and since Zelfa hasn't fought since around November last year, we've had a big emphasis on maximal strength. So we're really coming into the end of that maximal strength focus block now. Coming to your push-up position, and as always, just give me 5 of your world's greatest stretches. So foot to your hand, drop that elbow down, rotate round, give me 5, we'll swap sides, and we'll do 5 dead bugs as well. So the first thing we're gonna do with Zelfa, as always, is just go through a really generic warm-up, just that mobilising him through his T-spine, his hips a little bit. So we're gonna start off with the world's greatest stretch. Come back onto your front, let's go your world's greatest stretch again. So push-up position, step that foot in, 4 of each of them, please, mate. The idea is to open him up through his thoracic spine, open him up through his hips, and just kind of really get him switched in for his strength and conditioning session. We're gonna pair that with a dead bug as well that's just gonna look to activate his core a little bit. Again, get him moving through his shoulders, moving through his hips, and just generally increase body temperature before we begin to move into a more demanding secondary warm-up set. Mate, give me 3 of your reverse lunge and swing. So big step back knee comes down to the floor, pendulum your arms up. I want your biceps level with your ears, and then you're gonna step back and through, okay? I want 4 of those each side for Zelfa, yeah? So step back, biceps to ears, good, keep looking forward from here, really push that hip forward a little bit, and step into your next side. Swing up, drive that hip forward slightly, step back, drive that hip forward, good. Give me 2 more each side. After that, we're gonna go into a reverse lunge and swing and a shoulder tap. So stack one shoulder, tap your opposite toe, come back through and swap sides, and we'll go 4 of those each side as well, okay? As you push the ground away, that's it, stack your shoulder. Give me 4 each side. 2, again, just 2 really simple warm-up exercises. We're not trying to do anything overly specific here. It's just about warming Zelfa up through the shoulders, warming up through the hips. Again, further increasing body temperature before we start to go into his first exercise of any real meaningfulness, which is his isometric squat. Right, Zelfa, what we need to do, just give me a warm-up set of your iso squat. So we're gonna go hands on, as always, head comes underneath, foot right in the center of the plate, right on the inside, lift your back leg, and just give me a little 50% push on your right side, 50% on your left. Then we'll go 80% on each side as a secondary warm-up set, and we'll get into your max ones from there. So lift your left leg for me, just give me a little 50% push. 1, 2, 3, swap sides. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, swap back now, and give me 80%. 1, 2, 3, swap back. 1, 2, 3. Cool, step out. Rid of the bar, good. That's it, lift that back leg and just stand really still for a couple of seconds for me. 3, 2, 1, let's go, try and snap that bar, come on, really push, 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 time. Good, swap sides. 3, 2, 1, go, ramp it up a bit, ramp it up, push, 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 time. Good, step out. With the isometric squat, we're very much looking at going single leg for Zelfa, and this is going to do 2 things. One, it's going to allow me to assess Zelfa's improvement in maximal strength throughout the course of this training camp. With any exercise, whether if it's a back squat, a hex bar deadlift, a split squat, any exercise that we might use to increase maximal strength, there's always going to be an element of coordination. In other words, how good that athlete is at performing that exercise is going to impact how much force they can actually express on it. So when we're looking to actually test maximal strength, we really want to factor in, is the athlete proficient at that exercise in question? And also how much stability and how many other elements are required to perform that exercise. Whereas with something like an isometric squat that you're going to see Zelfa doing, there's very, very little coordination demands to it. So he's actually really stable, he's fixed into position, and he's really able to apply high levels of forces into the bar. And that's going to give me a real good impact and a real good guide as to if his strength is increasing over the course of this camp. Cool, lift that left leg. I want you to get that grey line as still as you can. And you're trying to smash it through the roof of this, yeah? 3, 2, 1, go! Really ramp it up, come on, come on, through the roof, through the roof, through the roof, push, 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 time. See if we can do the same left hand side, yeah? 3, 2, 1, go again, come on, up, 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 time. The other thing it's going to allow me to do with it being left and right as well is just monitor any little asymmetries that might pop up as part of Zelfa's training. Now, as part of Zelfa's boxing training, he'll do quite a bit of running, he'll do quite a lot of sessions that are going to heavily load him up through his lower limb. So that isometric squat is also going to act as a little bit of a screening tool for me on the day, so I can not only get a guide as to how Zelfa's feeling coming into the session. For example, if he's really fatigued, we might see a big drop off in force production, Or if he has picked up a little niggle, whether that be through his knee, his hip, his Achilles, it'll also start to flag on that testing, because what we then might see is a drop off in one side during that isometric testing. And then that just acts as a little conversation starter for me and Zelfa at the start of the session to really understand what's gone on previous and do we need to adapt the session at all. You're trying to land as tall on the box as you can. So here, hands don't need to be on your hips, they can be free. Really aggressive dip down and then just try and land as straight legged on the box as you can, okay? Step back down, and again, you're just looking for a really quick dip. And on, yeah? This is just a warm-up set, so give me like 5 reps to this, please, mate. After the isometric squat, we're gonna move into a box jump. This is acting as more of a primer for anything else for Zelfa in his session as well. So we're just gonna do 3 sets of 4 reps on a box jump. Last week, Zelfa hit a PB on his box jump, so we're gonna repeat that box height. And really here, I'm just looking at how tall Zelfa can land on that box. So we're gonna pick a challenging box height. We're not gonna pick something that he can comfortably jump onto, but we're not gonna constantly increase it week by week by trying to increase the height. I actually wanna get him to a point where he's landing with roughly his hip in line with his knee. And then over the next few weeks, we're gonna see if we can start to get him to land a little bit taller on the box. Simply with this, we're looking at how effectively Zelfa can apply force quickly. So we're looking at a bit of rate of force production through the lower limbs, not necessarily in enough volume that we're trying to increase his power, but we're just really looking here at following off the back of the isometric squat. Those 2 exercises act as a nice little primer just to get his nervous system fired for the rest of the session, which is very, very heavily strength focused. Right, hands free, they don't need to be on your hip. 4 reps. So really fast dip down and go, load. Nice, Zelfa. Last one, dip and go. Beautiful, mate. Step down, we've got 1 more set to go. We're then gonna go into a hex bar deadlift. This is a lift that Zelfa's really familiar with. We've been doing it a lot over the last 18 months. So I know when we're looking to try and increase force production globally for Zelfa, mainly through his posterior and chain, his lower limbs, that this is an exercise that we can really load up quite comfortably. So tongue of your shoe in line with the middle of the bar, arms nice and long, nice smooth stand, soft touch to the floor, give me 6. So as you go through this first rep, also just pay attention to like how stiff, if it is, your back is feeling, okay? Let's go. Give me 6, Zelfa. 4, good, soft touch and come back up. Last one. What you'll see as we get into the hex bar is we'll actually put 2 small plates under the hex bar for Zelfa. All we've found in previous training blocks is when we start to really ramp the weight up and challenge the capacity of Zelfa's strength, he just starts to get a little bit sensitive through his lower back sometimes, especially as he starts to begin to drop his weight down as the training camp goes on. So these 2 little plates that are going to go under the bar, they're just going to take out a little bit of that lower back from the first part of the pull. And that's really just going to allow us to continually load the bar heavy, but I'm also not worried about aggravating Zelfa's lower back at all. So I'm not worried about him missing any future boxing sessions because that lower back might be a little bit stiff after the session. You'll also see as we go through the hex bar deadlift, I'm going to attach the gym aware to that device. Now that gym aware is actually going to log the speed of each rep of Zelfa's hex bar. And that also allows me to understand, 1, if Zelfa's carrying a little bit of fatigue into the session, but it also acts as a way for me to understand when to progress Zelfa on in terms of weight. So if we start to see a big increase in the speed that Zelfa's lifting that weight at, it's a good indicator to me that Zelfa might be ready for a little weight increase, as opposed to just waiting a couple of weeks before we kind of increase the weight for the sake of increasing the weight. Until you can't pull yourself any tighter, and then drive the floor with your legs. Up, 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 up. Good. 4-0. Nice, Zelfa. 4-0. Ooh, 4-5, that last one. Good job. Then we're going to come into a 1-arm dumbbell row. The 1-arm dumbbell row for Zelfa is really looking at just increasing his maximal strength around his upper back and through his shoulder blade. Remember, for your setup of your row, I want your hand under your shoulder, knee under your hip, take a big wide step out to the side, and then dumbbell in your hand. Your shoulder's actually going to drop towards the floor a little bit. Now you just think about rowing it into the side of your body, control back down again, shoulder drops, draw your shoulder back, and roll the dumbbell to the side of the body, okay? I want 6 reps each side, please, mate. So allow this shoulder to drop towards the floor, and then draw it back as you roll up. Good. Good, mate, spin around for me. Especially as sparring volumes begin to increase, one thing that's quite common in boxers is starting to get a few niggles pop up around that rear delt, around that upper back, around that posterior shoulder. Sometimes that can just be from the volume of punching, but other times it can be through just an increase in missing shots. If someone slips a shot or misses a shot, or Zelfa's forced to overextend, that upper back has to control that shoulder blade. And sometimes that can just then cause a little bit of irritation, a few niggles if it's kind of overly done throughout a camp. So using that 1-arm dumbbell row is just going to help maintain some strength through that shoulder, try and maintain some health through that shoulder, so that as Zelfa begins to increase his sparring volumes, he's not experiencing any niggles or any pain around that shoulder. Then we're gonna come into a K-box split squat. So the K-box is an eccentric overloaded bit of kit. The idea being that it's attached to a flywheel, which basically means the harder Zelfa pulls up on the K-box, the harder the K-box is then gonna start to pull him back down. Yeah, I need to figure out the distance. So just come into a split stance for me. So put 1 foot behind you. That's it, yeah. And now put 1 foot at the very front, because I need it the right height for when you come up from the split squat. Put your toes on this block at the back of that left foot. There you go. We're gonna go 2 warm-up reps and then 6 reps where you're basically trying to jump up and move it as much as you can, okay? So remember, most of your weight's gonna come through the front foot. Back foot's for balance. So if I start to crank you down now, come into a split squat. Keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. Right, 2 warm-up reps. So come up for me. Good. Come up again. Right, now 6 reps. Absolutely send it. Come on, drive up. Good. Up, 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 up. Good, keep going, keep going, keep going. Now 6, really try and whip up as much as you can. Fight against it as it pulls you down. Fight against it, fight against it, fight against it. Good, Zelfa. 3, up, 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 up. Use that front foot. 2 more, up. Last one. Good. We're really using this as a strength stimulus for Zelfa. One thing with the human body is we're stronger eccentrically than we are concentrically. So we're actually stronger lowering a weight than we are lifting a weight. When it comes to trying to develop strength, this means that if we can overload someone eccentrically, then we can arguably increase the amount of motor units they can recruit. We can increase the amount of force that they can produce in these positions. So I'm going to take Zelfa into a split squat, but instead of using a barbell, we're going to use that K-box. This means that he's then going to have to work really hard as a K-box begins to pull him down to kind of resist that extra force. He's going to have to produce a lot of force himself through his quads, through his hips, through his glutes, through his hamstrings to try and resist the K-box pulling him down, and then simultaneously produce really high levels of force to kind of pull himself back up. So really looking to increase strength through quads, hamstrings, lower back glutes, all those hip musculature that is really important for boxing and really important for not just increasing the power of his shots, but also for keeping him healthy when he's running and stuff as well. So a bit of a novel exercise that you won't see a lot of, but if you do have a bit of equipment such as the K-box where you can overload the eccentric, it can be a really good tool to try and increase strength, especially for striking sports like boxing. Then finally, we're just going to finish off with some heavy rotational twists on the Kaiser. One hand on, step out in a nice straight line with the cable, other hand sits on top, and you're going to give me a nice aggressive twist round. So just think about drawing a big semicircle around your body. So elbows off your ribs, draw a semicircle round, and then control this back. Come back to the starting position. Again, use your hips and your trunk to rip it around, control it back. Don't let this kind of whip you back on the way, yeah? You rip it around, control it on the way back. Rip it around, control it on the way back, okay? One thing that Zelfa does a lot of in the gym with his coach is a lot of kind of conventional ab work. He'll do a lot of sit-ups, a lot of leg raises, a lot of twists, a lot of body weight, high volume ab work. So one thing that I really want to try and do in my sessions with him is go away from the high volume, more capacity driven abdominal work and focus on some heavier, higher force production work. Especially one with us being a strength block at the minute, it kind of marries up quite nicely with the focus of all the other exercise as well. But it's probably not a stimulus that he's really going to get when he's in the gym. And again, the amount of heavy rotational work that he has to do in his boxing, the amount of core work that he's actually going to go through and the amount he's going to load his core when he's boxing, it's just going to help us really over time slowly increase the strength of his core. So when he is boxing, there's a lesser demand on it because it has a higher threshold, it's starting from a greater point of force production, and therefore hopefully it will begin to fatigue a little bit less. As always, I hope you really enjoyed the insight into some of the fighter sessions that I work with and an insight into Zelfa's session when we're about 5 weeks out. If you've got any comments or anything you'd like to see in future videos, please feel free to drop them below and make sure you like and subscribe to the channel.